Thank you, Chairman Graham and Ranking Member Feinstein, for the opportunity to be here today on behalf of the American Bar Association's Standing Committee on the Federal Judiciary. It's an honor to be here to explain to you our process and our evaluation of Judge Barrett. We gave Judge Barrett a rating of well qualified, as you know, our highest rating. For 67 years, the Standing Committee has conducted thorough, nonpartisan, non-ideological, impartial peer reviews of all nominees to the federal courts. We assess the nominees' integrity, their professional competence, and their judicial temperament. The Standing Committee does not propose or recommend nominees. Our sole mission is to evaluate the professional qualifications of a nominee to serve on the court. And we do that through a comprehensive, thorough, fair, and independent peer review, the only one they will get, that entails reaching out to hundreds of lawyers and judges, bar association leaders, deans and academicians and others across the country who have personal, firsthand knowledge of the nominee's professional endeavors that touch upon the nominee's integrity, professional competence, and judicial demeanor. And the information that's given to us by these individuals is done under strict confidence to ensure that the comments that we receive are candid, open, and honest. I'm joined by Pamela Roberts of South Carolina, who is the lead evaluator for this nominee. And we were assisted by our Standing Committee members, a team of stellar lawyers from across the country who are handpicked and whose practices are in the litigation arena and who are deeply committed to the work of a strong judiciary. As you know, David Brown joins us here today, and I can tell you that all of these people work diligently to do what we always aspire to do, and that is to provide a fair and independent rating within the time frame that's established by the Senate Judiciary Committee. To be a nominee to the Supreme Court, one must possess exceptional professional qualifications, and as such, our investigation of a nominee to the Supreme Court is much more extensive than that for other federal courts. In addition to the usual approach of having a lead evaluator conduct and report on the nominee, every member of the committee from his or her own circuit conducts a separate evaluation, which is given to us. And second, while the committee members review the writings and opinions of the nominee, we engage academic reading groups. Here we had 2 academic reading groups, distinguished professors from the law schools of the University of Mississippi and Belmont University, and a 3rd professional reading group that included Supreme Court practitioners and former clerks, among others. There were 34 members of these reading groups. They read the opinions and the writings of the nominee, and they independently evaluated factors such as the judge's analytical abilities, clarity of writing, knowledge of the law, application of the law to the facts, harmonizing a body of law, reasoning, scholarship, and the ability to communicate effectively. And our committee also had the benefit of evaluating Judge Barrett in 2017, when then Professor Barrett was nominated to the 7th Circuit Court of Appeals, where she now serves as judge. And we interviewed Judge Barrett for over 3.5 hours, Ms. Roberts and we received additional information from her in the interim. The Standing Committee concluded that Judge Barrett's integrity, judicial temperament, professional competence met the very high standards for appointment to our Supreme Court. Our rating of well qualified reflects the consensus of her peers that know her best. Thank you, Chairman Graham and Ranking Member Feinstein, for your staffs accommodating us to be here today. They were professional and gracious, at every turn. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Before we turn to Ms. Roberts, as you know, there's contention on our side about the ABA at times, but as chairman, I always have considered the input to be important, even when I disagree with it. And during my time, we've continued the practice of ABA input, and I hope those who follow me will do so. Ms. Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Ranking Member Feinstein, and members of the committee. As my colleague just introduced, I'm Pamela Roberts, and I'm the lead evaluator for the nomination of Judge Amy Coney Barrett to sit as a justice on the Supreme Court of the United States. It is my honor to be here today and to present the testimony on behalf of the committee's evaluation of Judge Barrett's professional qualifications. Let me first start with what the committee did not do. We did not base our rating on or seek to express any view regarding Judge Barrett's philosophy, political affiliation, or ideology. We also did not solicit information as to how Judge Barrett might vote on specific issues or cases that might come before the Supreme Court. Rather, the Standing Committee's evaluation of Judge Barrett is based solely on the comprehensive, nonpartisan, non-ideological peer review of the nominee's integrity, professional competence, and judicial temperament. In evaluating integrity, we consider the nominee's character and general reputation in the legal community, as well as the nominee's industry and diligence. Judge Barrett has earned and enjoys an excellent reputation for integrity and outstanding character. Judges and lawyers alike uniformly extolled the nominee's integrity. We can recount a few comments, such as, she's incredibly honest and forthright. She's exactly who you think she is. Nothing about her is fake. She is good, decent, selfless, and sincere. She is an exemplar of living an integrated life in which her intellect, integrity, and compassion weave the different threads of her life together seamlessly. On the basis of these and many, many other laudatory comments and analysis, we received through our comprehensive evaluation, the Standing Committee concluded that Judge Barrett possesses the integrity required of a well-qualified rating. Professional competence encompasses such qualities as intellectual capability, judgment, writing, and analytical abilities, knowledge of the law, and breadth of experience. A Supreme Court nominee must possess exceptional professional qualifications, including an especially high degree of legal scholarship, academic talent, analytical and writing abilities, and overall excellence. Judge Barrett's professional competence exceeds these criteria. In our evaluation of Judge Barrett's professional competence, the members of the Standing Committee not only evaluated the reports mentioned by my colleague, by the practitioners and the academic reading groups, but then went further to obtain the views of lawyers, academics, and Judge Barrett's judicial peers. Descriptions of her intellect are captured with comments such as these. She is whip smart. She's highly productive, punctual, and well-prepared. A brilliant writer and thinker. She's quite pragmatic. Judge Barrett is an intellectual giant with people skills and engaging warmth. An amazing student. This came from a professor, obviously, without question, the smartest student I have ever taught. But put it simply, one said, the myth is real. She is a staggering academic mind. Given the breadth, depth, and strength of the feedback we received, the Standing Committee concluded that Judge Barrett had demonstrated professional competence to exceptional and sufficiently outstanding to be rated well qualified. In evaluating her judicial temperament, the Standing Committee considers a nominee's compassion, decisiveness, open-mindedness, courtesy, patience, freedom from bias, and most of all, commitment to equal justice under the law. The following comments provide insight into her demeanor as a jurist. She's always willing to be helpful, engage with others on a topic, even when she has a different philosophy. When she writes a dissent, she is collegial. She's an efficient judge. She is always prepared. At oral argument, she asks insightful questions. There's never a hint of sarcasm in her questioning. She is also a good listener. She has a calm, scholarly temperament. Judge Barrett has demonstrated stellar judicial temperament in all settings and meets the standard of a well-qualified. In conclusion, Judge Barrett meets the highest standards of integrity, professional competence, and judicial temperament. It is the opinion of the ABA Standing Committee on the Federal Judiciary that Judge Barrett is well qualified to serve as an Associate Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, and to the extent that the American people could hear what you had to say, I think it would be reassuring in terms of the Bar Associations taking the time and effort to do something this important. We're all grateful. Were either one of you involved in the Justice Kagan Sotomayor confirmation process?
No, sir.
Okay. The reason I mentioned that, the same things that were said today about Judge Barrett were also said about Justice Sotomayor and Kagan, and quite frankly, every other nominee that I've had the pleasure to associate with on the Judiciary Committee. In terms of the three areas that you evaluate, how much time and attention went into this, Ms. Roberts?
On behalf of the entire committee,
Yes.
thousands of hours.
Okay. Mr. Knoll, are you in agreement with the summary given by Ms. Roberts?
Yes, indeed. Yes. Yes.
In terms of, both of you are active in the practice of law?
Except for the last 2.5 weeks.
Yeah. Well, I can't show favoritism here, Ms. Roberts, but I know you, and it's good to have somebody without an accent come to the committee. Mr. Knoll, are you involved in the practice of law?
I'm a full-time practicing senior partner in my law firm, yes.
Okay, and you have people's personal interest and property rights in your hands as a lawyer, is that correct?
I do, yes.
Same for you, Ms. Roberts?
Yes.
You're very well known in our state, by the way. Simply put, would both of you feel comfortable going before Judge Barrett?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Think
yes,
you
sir.
folks would get a fair shake?
No doubt in my mind.
I would agree with that.
Thank you all. You've done the country an invaluable service. Thank you. Senator Feinstein.
Well, I'd like to say thank you, too. One of the things that I've observed over my tenure on the committee is really how extraordinarily valuable the ABA has been, and as a non-lawyer, particularly to me. So I just wanted to be able to say a word of thanks to you, and I hope you keep it coming. We very much welcome your advice, your counsel, and your legal professionalism. So thank you.
Thank you.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a list of letters supporting the nomination of Judge Barrett I would introduce for the record in this folder. Without objection, Senator Cornett.
Mr. Chairman, I have a letter from the Independent Women's Voice in support of the nominee. I'd ask unanimous consent that it be made part of the record.
Without objection. On our side, would anybody like to say something? You don't have to. Anybody like to ask questions? Senator Kennedy?
I just wanted to thank you for all your hard work and the time you spent on this.
Thank you.
Senator Coons, anyone?
Yes, if I could. Just two questions for you. One on a broader issue of the ABA and its role in confirmation, and then another on diversity in the federal courts. President Trump's named 10 judicial nominees who were subsequently rated by the ABA as not qualified. And by comparison, not a single judicial nominee of the Obama administration was rated as not qualified. And these ratings have led the Assistant AG for the Office of Legal Policy to write in an editorial that the ABA evaluates nominees of Republican presidents more harshly than those of Democratic presidents. Does the ABA take political considerations such as this into account when it provides this committee with ratings?
Thank you, Senator Coons. Our evaluations are done in an apolitical, neutral, impartial way. We do not take into account political affiliation, religious preference, philosophy, or personal views. We focus solely on the professional qualifications to serve.
And if I might add, Senator, that under the two administrations, was a different practice. Under the Obama administration, the ABA process actually goes forward before going to the Senate committee.
Correct.
And so you don't have, it addresses problematic nominees before they're formal nominees.
Correct. One of my repeatedly stated concerns has been racing forward with nominees before we get your input on qualification, which I tend to rely on. One other question, if I might. By nearly every metric, the Trump administration's judicial nominees have been among the least diverse of any president in generations. He's made 50 nominations to the circuit courts, not one of whom was black. In fact, over his 200 nominations, about 85% have been white and only 25% have been women. Yesterday, in response to a question from Senator Booker, Judge Barrett could not name a single book, study, or law review that in any way addressed racial discrimination and its legacy in American law. I'm not suggesting in any way that that's disqualifying. I'm simply saying that at a time when such books are bestsellers, at a time when this central challenging issue for the United States and for our legal system about how to address, recognize, combat the legacy of racial discrimination, I just wondered if you could briefly speak to the importance of diversity on the bench and in the legal community more broadly.
Senator, we're not here to speak for the American Bar Association. We are the independent body of the Standing Committee on the Federal Judiciary. But in terms of this evaluation and the work that we did, I can share with you that of the hundreds of people that we reached out to who confided in us and gave us their very candid views, we didn't hear a hint of any concern by anyone that this nominee suffers from some kind of malady in terms of
Let me be
discrimination.
specific and clear. I was not intending to imply that in any way. Her failure to respond to Senator Booker's question yesterday with a specific example, I did not mean to imply, suggested any bias. Just it led to me to question whether or not having broader diversity on our courts would bring into the decision-making role those who bring personal insight and experience, and whether or not all who serve on our bench and in Congress should be more aware of this challenge facing our nation.
If I may, Senator, I just would remind the committee that there are two questions in the Senate Judicial Questionnaire that the nominees complete that do address diversity. One goes to membership of any organization or club that might discriminate, and the other question goes to a view of diversity and is usually followed up in the face-to-face interview by the evaluator and the nominee. And so there is some intentional discussion about those important issues.
Mr. Chairman,
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Senator Corning.
Mr. Chairman, it strikes me that the nominee understands diversity, appreciates diversity. She's got 2 children she adopted from Haiti. So I don't think she needs to have anybody preaching to her about the importance of diversity. Her own family is racially diverse. And I think it speaks volumes of about her character and her husband's character for what they have done in terms of adding to their already large family by adopting these 2 children from Haiti.
Okay, anybody else? Senator Cruz.
Mr. Chairman, I wanted to thank both of the witnesses for the hard work. I know you put a lot of time into these interviews, and thank you for the thoroughness with which you approached the job, and thank you for relaying to the committee what you found from those interviews. I also wanted to enter into the record a letter from First Liberty, which is a legal organization that defends religious liberty, in which they support the confirmation of Judge Barrett and say in particular that we're confident that Judge Barrett will protect the religious freedoms and constitutional rights of all Americans.
Without objection. Thank you both for the input to the committee, for all the time and effort. Yeah, I think it's invaluable to the committee and the country. And tell General Rives that I said hello. He was my boss when I was in the Air Force. Thank you very much. You're dismissed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our second panel.
You're watching the Senate confirmation hearings right now for Judge Amy Coney Barrett. We're in another pause as we move to the second panel, I believe of 3 scheduled, of outside witnesses. Judge Barrett not in this hearing room today.
We just heard from 2 members of the American Bar Association that gave their full endorsement by saying that Judge Amy Coney Barrett was well qualified, which is the highest grade they could give any judge. They interviewed over hundreds of people, over thousands of hours of work and time and interviews and delving into her past. And they said that of the hundreds of people that they interviewed, everyone was very candid and they had heard nothing negative about the judge.
Yeah, G, one thing of note in that first panel, not a lot of questions for those witnesses. Everything kind of spoke for itself. A few items to be put in the record, other letters of recommendation put in the record. Again, right now we're moving on to the second panel of 3. We believe one of those panels will be for the judge's nomination and one against the judge's nomination.
And these are outside witnesses brought forward by both Democratic and Republican senators. In terms of the Democratic senator witnesses, I think there are going to be a lot of people that are affected by the Affordable Care Act. I think a lot of people that have also could potentially be affected by any of the rulings that are coming forward that they've been discussing: health care, voting rights, gun rights as well.
And I believe one of those witnesses for the Affordable Care Act, as many of the Democrats believe that the judge would vote against that if that case, when that case reaches the Supreme Court. I believe one of those interviews today, I'm not sure if it's going to be this panel or the third panel, is a mother who's been affected by the Affordable Care Act. Lots going on inside that Senate room. Again, they were about 2 hours late to these panel discussions because of a lengthy discussion between Republicans and Democrats on whether or not these hearings should actually continue. There was a vote brought to the hearing floor. That vote was lost. There was a vote to stop the hearings. The Republicans, the nay votes had that 10-8 as 4, I believe, senators were absentee.
That was a motion to adjourn brought forward by Senator Blumenthal, of course voted on party lines. And of course we see Chairman Lindsey Graham speaking, so we'll take you right back to the Senate confirmation here.